How's everybody today? Everybody doing okay? Oh my goodness, Kaden, I'm so sorry to see that. You take care of yourself, Kaden. Don't let yourself get too sick. Okay. So good morning, Raina. Good morning, Jacob. Good morning, Gavin. Good morning, Olivia. Good morning, Alyssa. Good morning, Kaden. I'm so glad you're here. Good morning, Carmen. Good morning, Kyle. Good morning, Matthias. Good morning, Naomi. Good morning, Del Torres. Good morning, Josh. Good morning, Alacia. Good morning, Amber. Good morning, Noah. Good morning, Yese. Good morning, Stephanie, Jose, Alyssa. Good morning, Mitchell. Good morning, Lena. Good morning, Nick. Good morning, Xavier. Good morning, Braden. Good morning, Julian. Good morning, Enrique. Good morning, Richard. Leo, good morning. Xavier Morley, good morning. Adriana, good morning. Ryan, good morning. Sean, good morning. Layla, good morning. Hector, good morning. Kira, Bethsy, Serenity, Jennifer, good morning, all of you. Nancy, Manaya, Ali, Caleb, James Ontiveros, good morning, James. Samantha, good morning. Jashelle, good morning. Good morning, Alex. Good morning, Jonathan. Good morning, Andres. Good morning, Blake. Good morning, Gentry. Good morning, Alicia. And good morning, Vincent. Yes, Raina, you can be the moderator today if you wouldn't mind. Be happy to do that. Okay. So good morning, everybody. So good to see all of you in class today. All right. So let's go do this first part. I want you all to do me a favor. I'm going to go ahead and post this into the post the link into the chat. We didn't get to do this on Thursday. All right. So if y'all would do me a favor, get out your tablets, get your phone, or use your browser, and go to this website that I'm showing you here in the chat and on the screen. You're going to answer 5 questions real quickly, and you're going to we're going to see how things are going with you in terms of what you understand so far about Eastern Europe. Good morning, Kira. Okay, so any questions on what I want you to do for about 4 or 5 minutes? Nick, how would you know? How would you know, Nick? You've been trained. Okay, guys, let's go on ahead and give that quiz some attention. This is just a little checkup. Is everybody doing the check-in activity? Everybody's working on the quizzes, right? Give me a yes or a no, please. Great. After that, just wait a couple of minutes. We're gonna get started. Okay, Noah? Okay, guys, I'm going to go in ahead and show you the results that we've got so far, and this is along with the other class. I would appreciate it if you guys would go in and answer this question. It'll give you a little extra credit. Okay, so let me go in ahead and show you where we're at. Okay. So 47% of you got things 100% correct. There were 5 questions here and 66 people so far. So the answer to number 1 was what? Can someone type in the answer, please? It's a fjord. It's a fjord. It's not a lake. It's a fjord. When water goes in from the sea and they go into a narrow body between 2 like canyon walls, and it goes in one direction, that's a fjord. It's like the water runs from the sea into a narrow canyon, and that is called a fjord. All right. Okay. So the next one, and 25 of you out of 50 of you got it right. So it was a 50-50 split. So if I were you, I would write that question down and make sure that you keep track of the answer. Okay. Norway is considered to have the largest number of long, deep, narrow bodies of water that reach far inland from the ocean. What are those bodies of water called? Fjords. Yeah, and pronouncing it correctly is really tough for us Americans because we want to pronounce the J, and it's actually few. It's like a y. Fjords. Okay. So, question number 2. What country is so big that it extends from the continent of Europe in the west to the continent of Asia in the east? And that is Russia. Okay, Nick, I'll take your word on that one. Okay. So Russia is so big that it extends from the continent of Europe in the west to the continent of Asia in the east, and then back again so far east that it's west. And that puts it only 50 miles away from Alaska. Okay. Which of these would not be considered part of Eastern Europe? Most of y'all got that right. Denmark is the answer. Denmark is not part of Eastern Europe. Russia is, Ukraine is, and is Finland. Okay, Finland is part of Eastern Europe. All of those Norse countries, Norway, Sweden, and Finland, are going to be part of Eastern Europe for geography's sake. Okay. Now, which 2 mountain ranges separate Europe in the north and west from Asia? The answer is the Urals and the Caucasus. Okay, it's actually both of them, the Ural Mountains and the Caucasus Mountains. All right. Question there? So remember that the 2 mountain ranges that separate Russia or Europe from Asia, the Urals and the Caucasus. Okay, and then according to your text, only 8% of Russia is considered arable land. What does that mean? Little over half of y'all are getting it right, and then I'm getting answers all over the place. Arable means that you can grow stuff, you can grow on the land. And arable land is land you can grow crops on. All right, so that is what that 8% means. So that means that only 8% of Russia is considered suitable for growing crops. And that's one of the reasons that you have this conflict ongoing right now with the Ukraine, because Russia wants it because it is the breadbasket of Eastern Europe. Okay, let me know. Give me some feedback here, guys, that you're understanding what we're saying. Are we good to go? Okay, good. Make sure that you keep track of those questions because you're going to probably see them again or something like them. All of those are things you need to know. Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So let's go on to the next slide. Just so that you know it, let's see. Raina, would you please read, if you can, the content objectives, the language objectives, and the norms?
Today, I will identify and describe the political boundaries of Eastern Europe.
Okay.
I will be
That's
able to
okay.
I will be able to analyze how the character of Eastern Europe is related to its political, economic, social, and cultural elements.
Mm-hmm.
I will use words that I know to talk about the culture and political elements of Eastern Europe.
Mm-hmm.
We will participate in class to the best of our ability. We will be good communicators. We will be polite, respectful, and courteous to everyone in Class Connect. We will remain focused and on task, and we will keep personal information out of chat.
Thank you. Okay. All right. So, Raina, can you go to the next slide, please? Next slide, please. Good. So show me which countries are considered part of Eastern Europe. You can show me with the highlighter, or you can put a little mark into each country that is part of, that you believe is part of Eastern Europe. Come on, guys. Which countries are part of Eastern Europe? Oh, it would help if I did something, wouldn't it? Just a minute here. Hold on. All right, let's get back here. All right, can you let me turn on the tools? There we go. Now, can you show me what countries are part of Eastern Europe? Sorry about that. Okay, these are West. You're showing me Western Europe here. Okay, so Good. All of those countries are Eastern Europe. Very good. What about Greece? West or east? Okay. Let's see. What about Georgia, Armenia, Azerbaijan? What about those countries? These over here. What about Russia? What about Kazakhstan? Norway, Sweden, and Finland. What about those? Are they Eastern or Western? Come on, guys. Feedback, please. Let's go ahead and circle countries that we know are in Eastern Europe. That way I can go through them with you. Circle the countries that are in Eastern Europe. Can you all do that for me? Because I can tell you there's more countries that you're not showing me. Okay. Georgia, Armenia, and Azerbaijan, yes. Turkey is weird because it's actually part of Europe and it's part of Asia. And no. Greece is Western Europe, guys. It's the heart of Western Europe. All right. How about Finland, Sweden, and Norway? So Greece is not Western Europe, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry, it's not Eastern. It's Western. Okay, so what about Sweden, Finland, and Norway? Eastern? Okay. So I'll tell you. Norway, Sweden, and Finland are Eastern Europe. Denmark is Western Europe. Germany is Western Europe. The Netherlands, Western Europe. Belgium, Western Europe. Switzerland, Italy, all those are Western Europe. And then you get to Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, Belarus, Ukraine, all of those countries that someone circled in red, definitely Eastern Europe. Very good. So Greece, if somebody could take Greece off the board there, Greece is not Eastern Europe, it is Western Europe. Okay? All right. And then what about Russia? No one circled Russia. That's most definitely Eastern Europe. And is Kazakhstan. Yes. Okay. Better idea of where Eastern Europe is? This definition of Eastern Europe has more politics involved in it than anything else, because what we consider to be Western or Eastern Europe is really all of the countries that after World War II became part of the Soviet Union or were controlled by the Soviet Union remotely. Okay, they were puppet nations. Okay, then after 1990, 1989, the Berlin Wall drops, and all these countries now are free to join up with the Eastern European countries. So, for instance, Germany had been divided in two, and it got to reunify following the fall of the Berlin Wall. Okay. Raina, can you go to the next slide, please? Okay. Great Schism. A schism is a split. A schism is a split. All right. So a schism is a split, and this occurs in 1054. You had at that point the Roman Catholic Church that was the church. But you had the rising growth of Protestantism, especially in Germany. And then you had a gradual process of the Catholic Church splitting in two. You had a big falling out between the church in the East and the church in the West. The church in the East is going to become what we call the Orthodox Church, the Orthodox Christian Church. And the church in the West is the Roman Catholic Church. Now, linguistically and culturally, the two are very different. And politically, political events contribute to the falling out of these two religious sects. So the Orthodox Church is not in unity with the Roman Catholic Church and the Protestant communities. There's also no equivalent to the Vatican for the Eastern European Church. The center of Roman Catholicism is the Vatican in Italy, but following the Great Schism of 1054, Constantinople, which is in Turkey, emerged as the center of Orthodox Christianity and was referred to as New Rome. Following with me so far? Guys, let's keep the private conversations private, please. I appreciate that Nick is a pretty cool dude, but let's keep going here. All right. So now, looking at characteristics, can you all tell me what each type of economic system is? The traditional, the market, or the command? And I want you to put those in these boxes next to each of the characteristics. You can use your drawing tool. You can use your text tool. It's okay, Jasper. Okay. So the first one is that market, traditional, or command. Stop drawing on the screen with lines, please. Traditional, market, or command? Okay, command. Decisions based on, no. Come on, guys. All right, let's try this again. The first one, private companies and individuals make decisions, promote the competition, and companies earn profits. Often found in democracies. What kind of economic system is that? Third one is traditional, Betsy. Thank you. Okay, so what kind of what kind of market system is that? Traditional, market, or command? You can match it up with a line going from the word over to the characteristics if you want to draw a line that way. So what is the first one? The first one is not traditional, that's for sure. So draw a line. Yeah, traditional is the third one. Draw a line from market to the first one. There you go. Okay, so the market economy is the private companies and individuals making their own decisions. The second one is a command economy. That is communism or socialism. Government committees make the decisions about all aspects of business and minimal consumer choices. And then the traditional is the one that's passed down from generation to generation. And it could be trading goats, it could be trading cows, it could be trading chickens. It all depends on what that particular market, that particular economy prizes most. Okay. All right. Can you go to the next slide, please? What do you think of when you hear the word communism? Give me some words that you think of when you hear the word communism. And is it good or bad? Okay, you think of Russia. The USSR, which is not the same as Russia. Know that, okay? War, why war? Sergio, we're not going to do that. No personal information. Okay, what is the first thing you think of when you think of communism? Somebody said war. Why war? The Soviet Union, which is Russia in between 1940, in between 1917 and the year 1990. Okay, keep going, guys. What are some of the words you think of? Okay, political. Communism is not a political statement. Communism is a statement of, it's a system of economy. It basically is a command system. Fighting for property. That's a good one, Alyssa. Very good. What else? What else? Come on. Somebody said war. Let's go back to that word, war. What kind of war? Why do you think of war when you think of communism? Anybody? Anybody? Civil war with Russia. Well, a civil war with Russia, that would mean Russia would be fighting itself, because that's what a civil war is. But I can tell you, I think of the Cold War. I think of the Cold War, which is a war that really doesn't have, it's a war, but it's a war of words. It's a war of actions. It's just not a war of bullets flying necessarily between the two main countries. That's not to say there aren't wars that happen underneath those countries, like the Vietnam War was a proxy war. But when I think of communism, I think of an economic system. I think of a system where the individuals don't get to own their own property. The property is owned by the state and shared, redistributed. So there's no poor or rich in a true communist society. Everybody is the same. That's a little boring for me. It's a lot boring, actually. Um, it doesn't depend upon how much work you put in. It depends upon everybody getting the same thing. Okay, that's communism. Does that make sense? Yes? No? Okay, good, Alyssa. Thank you. Thank you, Caleb. Good. All right. So communism is really not a government type, it's a market type. Okay. But you have communist governments right now, like, for instance, China. They call themselves communist. They have them. They have proletariats and all the things that communist nations have, and at the same time, it's as capitalistic, market based as any economy you would have on this planet. And it is, the government really encourages production. Yes, the government in a communist country, the government owns the land. There's no private ownership in a true communist country, but there is private ownership in China, and but it's still communistic because the systems kind of mix together between market and communistic. All right. Raina, can you read that? I don't know. That color is really hard to read.
Command economy controls resources. How do I pronounce that next word?
Allocates.
Allocates, assigns resources, and commands the use of resources.
Okay.
Almost 2 decades.
To allocate basically means, guys, allocate basically means that in a command economy, the government decides who gets what. Okay. Got it, Raina?
Mhm.
Okay.
Almost 2 decades after the fall of communism, several countries were still struggling to establish stable democracies. These young democracies struggled to move away from communism and command economies because their governments were young, untested, and corrupted.
Okay.
European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, or EBRD, was established in 1991 to help with the transition towards market-oriented economies and to promote private and entrepreneurial initiative in the countries of Central and Eastern Europe.
Okay. What does entrepreneurial mean? Anybody know? What's an entrepreneur? Makes his own money. Very good. An entrepreneur is someone who takes a risk by putting his own money into a project with the hopes of making money from the money that he invests. So entrepreneurial basically means private businesses. Okay, so let's go through the Russian communism and its legacy and how this whole thing comes to play. This guy right here is Tsar Nicholas II. He was the last Tsar of Russia in 1917 when the empire was overthrown by a revolution led by this guy, okay, Vladimir Lenin. And Vladimir Lenin was basing his theories on the works of a guy named Karl Marx, who actually was writing about communism as an economic system. And it was his belief that it was more fair. Communism was more fair, that you had an equal distribution of wealth, that you didn't leave people out, that everybody got included in the game. But it's a lot harder to do that than people think, because everybody has an ulterior motive. We all have greed as an ulterior motive. So unfortunately, the solution to greed was supposed to be communism, but in fact, it allowed certain greedy people to step in and just basically take advantage of others. And so that's how communism gets its bad name. So Vladimir Lenin masterminds the Bolshevik takeover of power in Russia in 1917, and was the designer and first head of the Soviet state, what would become the USSR. When changing the Russian economy into a socialist model became hard to do, he introduced the new economic policy, which was a measure of private enterprise that was still tolerated, and it allowed some private enterprise. But in reality, when it came to land, especially farmland, the state took everything. Now, the problem is that if you have nothing to work for, nothing to fight for, then what's going to happen to you when it comes time to produce things? Are you going to have any incentive to produce things if you're not going to see a nickel from doing so? What do you think about that? What happens to the, although you're going to produce more widgets, what happens to the quality of those widgets? Do you care? Because if you don't make the widgets, you go to jail. At least that's what it was like under Stalin. Okay? Under Stalin, many people were killed or imprisoned, He ruled them with an iron fist and used famine and terror to control the people. Okay, so he came up with what was called a 5-year plan. These are plans to modernize the economy to keep up with the West. Each plan set a target which industries had to meet. So if you were in steel production, you had to produce X amount of steel or you were going to go to jail. The problem is you'll produce that amount of steel, but will the quality of the steel be any good, or will buildings be falling apart? I can guarantee you buildings would be falling apart. You did not want to have a Soviet-made car, ever. They never worked. And the only ones that got a Soviet-made car were going in the Soviet Union, because that's the only kind of car you were going to get. You weren't going to buy one outside the Soviet Union. The only ones that got them were people that were loyal to Stalin and the state, not people who had earned them by way of their work. Okay? Each factory then set a target that it has to meet. The targets were completely unrealistic, but they did lead to increased output and some economic growth. But the problem is the quality of the goods that you're producing are just subpar. All right. So we did this already. Is it command or capitalism? So I'm going to skip this because we're running out of time. Now, let's talk real quickly about the Balkans. You can read this and get more information when you go into the mini lesson this week. So in 1991, Slovenia and Croatia declare independence from Yugoslavia. And ethnic tensions turn towards crisis levels as the Serbian minority in Yugoslavia began a process of ethnic cleansing. The Serbians start to go against, who are Christian, Orthodox Christian, they start to go against the Muslim majority, and they start killing them. So you have your Bosnian Muslims are starting to be killed in large numbers. Okay. Serbian leaders like Slobodan Milosevic became the first sitting head of government to have charges brought against him by the United Nations for war crimes. So he's literally a modern Hitler. He's held in the UN center near The Hague in the Netherlands. And one thing that happens with the Balkan crisis is you have the growth of all these individual minority ethnicities, each one wanting its own piece of land. So now you have Slovenia, Croatia, Bosnia, Herzegovina, Montenegro, Bulgaria, Macedonia. A lot of these Yugoslavia is busted into about a dozen countries. Okay, everybody got that? All right. Okay, so when you hear the word ethnic cleansing, what's other words come to mind real quickly? And then we're going to stop here. When you hear the word ethnic cleansing, what comes to mind? I have no idea what that means, Nick. Are y'all going to answer the question, please? Mans? Okay. To clean out, all right? But who are you cleaning out? How are you cleaning these people out? It's racial or ethnic. Okay, in this case, it can be racial, or it can be based on religion, or it can be based on where they live. Okay, but you're wiping out a group of people, killing them based on what you don't like. Okay. All right. So the Cold War, just so you know it, the Cold War is, the words were originated by Walter Lippmann. He coined the term meaning that the relations between the USSR and its World War II allies, primarily the United States, Britain, and France, had weakened to the point of war without the occurrence of actual war. So it's war without dropping bombs. But the threat of dropping a bomb is what kept it that way. Why was the Berlin Wall built? It was built to keep people in, not to keep people out. Okay? It's built to keep people in, not to keep people out. All right? Okay, so we talked about the Ural Mountains in this lesson, Russia, taiga, tundra. Remember, taiga means the forested area. Tundra is the area above that, which is above the timberline. And Ural Mountains are the separating point between Asia and Europe. And Russia is so massive, it basically covers the entire polar region of the globe. Okay. Questions? Make sure you've read 1.02, 1.03. Make sure you read 1.04 and 1.05. Make sure you do the quiz for 1.04, 1.05 by Thursday. Don't forget that when the sooner you get that quiz done, the better, because that'll take care of the 0F problem that many of you have emailed me about. The only way to get rid of that problem is to do that first graded quiz 1.04, 1.05, okay? Because the computer, what it does is it releases the extra credit points much later in this semester, and that's why you're seeing a 0. Does everybody understand that? Good. Because I got a million emails over the last week not understanding, and so I want to make sure you all understand that. All right, guys, I'm going to quit. We're going to stop for today. We're 3 minutes over. I want everybody to have a great week, and I'll see you all on Wednesday morning. Bye, guys.